Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Armand. Today we'll be talking about the top 15 best questions to ask at the end of a job interview. Now keep in mind, asking 15 different questions at the end of your job interview is probably a little too much. Um, it would probably inundate the interviewer at this point, since at the end of the interview, who knows, your interview could have been going for 30 minutes or longer already, and you're about to ask 15 questions. Okay, so what I suggest is to pick a few things from this list and apply it to yourself, and of course choose the most adequate or appropriate question for your situation, for the company or for yourself during the interview. Okay, but if they're willing to answer all of these 15 questions, why not? Right? Now, you have to remember, first and foremost, I said this on my other video of how to get through a job interview calmly, of course, right? An interview is a two-way street. This is not about the employer interviewing and asking you a bunch of questions. This is about the employer asking you a bunch of questions and you asking them a bunch of questions. You're entitled to those questions and to those answers as much as they are entitled to the questions that they're going to ask you, and for you to respond to them. They're trying to see if you guys actually fit. Okay, you have to be able to fit into that company. Okay, and during the interview is the time for you to discover, is this a company I want to work for, or is this an organization that I want to be a part of? You want to discover these things during the interview, not after you got hired and you quit your old job that you love so much because you thought that this new job was going to be great and it was a failure. Okay, you don't want to do that. You want to know what you're getting into before it actually happens. So again, it's a two-way street to make sure that you guys are of good fit. Okay, now if you don't prepare smart questions to ask after the interview is done, you're gonna run the risk of the interviewing assuming that you're not that interested. You don't want them to think that you're not interested in their company, as if, do you have any questions for me at this point? No, I'm okay. Thank you. Have a great day. Goodbye. No, I don't know how you could get hired that way, but I'm sure others have gotten hired that way. But no, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so you want to show that you're interested in some way, shape, or form. So at least have maybe two or three different questions that you want to ask, or maybe even more if the conversation goes really well between you and the interviewer. Just make sure that you have a bunch of different questions that you can just pick from at the very end of your interview. Okay, and of course, questions that can demonstrate like your interest in the position. Okay, not just, oh, how often do you go golfing or how often do you go fishing? Absolutely not. It has nothing to do with those questions. Okay, it needs to be questions that pertain to the interview process or to the opportunity being presented. Okay, so the question sometimes is, how do you come up with these questions? Well, you can come up with them, with these questions on your own, or we can help you. We've got 15 of them, and some of them are more powerful than others. And there's a bonus one on the ones that I included in some of the on this list that I mentioned in the previous video for how to get through an interview, right? That would put you on the very top of the qualified list of candidates. Okay, so but we're gonna go through them just to kind of give you a little bit of insight as far as what you're really trying to portray as far as your message goes by asking these questions. So number one, as a tip, of course, avoid yes or no questions. Okay, avoid yes or no questions, because obviously that just cuts the conversation off immediately. You want the interviewer to be able to elaborate on the response that they give you. Okay, so number one question that I suggest people to ask, even during the conversation of back and forth questions between you and the interviewer, I always like to ask, can you tell me a little bit about the day-to-day responsibility of this position? What is it that you are hoping to see from the right person, from the right candidate? What is their responsibility day to day? And I want to make sure that that applies to me as well. Okay, this is your chance to learn as much as you can about the role, so that you can decide if you would want to be with this company or not. Okay, number two, excuse me. What do you think are the most important qualities for someone to excel in this role? From your experience of being a department manager or vice president or HR, whatever this person's role is, you want to ask them, what do you think? What do you think is the most important qualities that someone can have to excel in this role? Okay, this question can often lead to to valuable information. Okay, that's not in the job description. Okay, because you got to remember the job description is a very direct, precise um, description of what they're looking for. Okay, but this is an explanation now. This is an explanation of what they think someone must have in order to succeed in this role. Okay, whether it's, they have to be, teachable. They have to be willing to learn. They have to be willing to adjust to an adjustable schedule. This is an eye opener for a lot of individuals because, again, it will tell you if you would want to continue to pursue that company or not. Okay. Now, number three, this one's a little bit more of a projection. This is more of a projection question as far as you assuming that you have the job. And of course, you always assume that you have the job. Every time I go to a job interview, I always tell myself, this is my job and I'm going to go to this job interview and it's my job to lose. What does that mean? It's my job to lose. I already have the job. I know I already have the job because I'm confident that I have the qualifications that they need. And I'm that good with job interviews that I already have this job. But if I screw it up inside the job interview, if I screw it up, then I lost it because of me. Okay, it's my job to lose is what I tell myself every time I go into an interview. So the next question is a projection question. Okay, what are your expectations? Okay, what are your expectations for this role during the first 30, 60, 90 days, or even project a year from now? What is it that you are hoping that this person in this role is going to accomplish for your group, for your department, for your company in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and of course, a year from now? What this is telling the person that you're talking to is that you project seeing yourself in this organization for a duration of time, for for a commitment of time. Okay, you're projecting that you're already part of their team. You have to remember that a lot of these questions or comments that I make are psychological. Okay, you have again, it's a two-way street, right? It's a two-way street, but it's a conversation between two people. But you have to remember that anytime that two people are talking, one is buying and one is selling. I know, it is what it is. Somebody's always buying something. Somebody's always trying to sell something. Okay. In this case, I am trying to sell me to the company, and I want that person to buy me or my talent to be brought into the company. I don't want them to sell. The only time that I want them to sell is when I want them to convince me. I want you to convince me that your company is the right company for me to join. Okay, so somebody's always buying and selling, and during an interview process, you're changing roles. You're changing. At one point you're selling, the next point you're buying. Okay, it is an exchange of conversation. That's all it is. But you have to know when to do certain things and have that right mentality. Somebody's buying and somebody's selling. Who's selling right now? Who's buying right now? Okay. At this point, when I'm asking this question, what's your expectation in the next 30, 60, or 90 days or a year from now? I'm selling the fact that I'm telling this person that I am that right candidate for you. I will be here. I will support the organization from what you expect of me. Okay. So that's what I want them to buy when I say these questions. Okay. The fourth one is, I don't typically ask this just because culture or about the company depends on how big the company is, I guess, or how small the company is. But some people will actually ask, could you help me understand the culture of your company? Could you help me understand or describe the culture of your company? How are they? Are they divided? Are they like a family where they're tightly packed? You'll see some companies that are a little bit more traditional back in the day, where when you walk into the office, you'll see a lot of dividers dividing every one person or one employee to the next. And then you'll see more of the retro type of companies, the ones that are a little bit more open, where when you walk into the office, there's no divider. They can literally see each other. They can look each other in the eye because they're a little bit more open. They're an open company, and that's part of their culture. They want to make sure that everyone is basically connected to one another instead of divided. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with whether it's open or divided. You have to be okay with it, is what I'm saying. Okay. Number 5, where do you think? Where do you think the company's headed in the next 5 years? Okay. Why are you asking this question? This gives a hiring manager a really good insight into you. Okay. And it could propel you to that next level as far as being the top candidate. You haven't even started your first day yet. Okay. You haven't even started your orientation yet. And you're already asking, where is this company going to be in the next 5 years? Because you want to know how it could benefit you. Remember that. It's about you accepting the opportunity, right? Where is this company going to be in the next 5 years? It's projecting that you will be with the company. And if the answer is wrong from the hiring manager, it's going to tell you this might not be the company for me. They have no direction. They don't know where they're going. They're a startup company and they don't know where they're going to be in the next 5 years. Well, a startup company always have to have a business projection, right? Or they've been around for the last 20 years and they don't know where they're going to be in the next 5 years. No, a hiring manager will always brag about, oh, this is what we project in the we're doing a lot of changes in the organization right now. We're opening up new divisions, we're opening up new offices. This is where we're going to be in the next 5 years. Oh my gosh, that sounds great. I certainly would love to be a part of that, right? I'd love to be a part of that, David. So you're projecting that you've already taken the position. They just don't know that that's what you're doing. And if the interview manager is smart enough, they know exactly what you're doing. Okay, if they've watched this video, they know exactly what you're doing. But the chances are they don't. They don't know what they don't know that that's what you're doing is projecting yourself into the company even before you get hired, which is a psychological trick, right? So, number 6, you know, some people will tell you this, some people won't. And if they don't want to tell you, it's fine, okay? But if they do tell you, it kind of gives you a little bit of an insight too. Check this out. So number 6, I typically would ask them somewhere along the conversation, not even at the very end of the conversation, typically somewhere in between. You know, David, tell me who's your biggest competitor at this time, and why are they your biggest competitor? Who's the number one competitor for your company? Okay, and they're gonna talk about it. And all you have to do is, why do you think that they're not a threat, but they're a formidable competitor for you guys? What makes them, you know, that good to be in your level? And they're gonna talk about it. They're gonna talk about it. A couple of things that you basically are doing here is learning a little bit more about the company, who your who your top competitors are, and who's out there basically in the same arena as this particular company that you're interviewing with. But also behind the scenes, them telling you who the competitors, who their number one threat is. Well, what's stopping you from interviewing with them? Right? There's a reason that this company that David works for is interviewing you, because you have something that they believe that they might be looking for, right? Well, if you have something that this company is looking for, don't you think that their competitors would be looking for the same qualities as well? So you may want to pursue that and see which gives you the best possible offer. And when I say offer, I don't mean monetary all the time. I mean offer a better environment, a better workplace, a better income, a better schedule, whatever the case may be, right? List of their competitors kind of gives you an insight as far as, you know what, this person really is trying to learn about this company. But in your head, you're thinking, yeah, I just want to know who else is looking for me. Okay, so it is what it is. Number 7, what are the biggest opportunities facing the company or department right now? This is part of the growth, okay? For a company to grow, divisions or departments must grow in a certain way as well. And if you're trying to get into the accounting department, if you're trying to get into the sales department, if you're trying to get into the marketing department, you want to know what's the biggest opportunities that this department is facing right now. Oh yeah, we just landed a deal with so-and-so company, and this is going to be our largest account, and we need all hands on deck, and we need all manpower to put into their project. Okay, and this contract is for 10 years, this contract is for 5 years, whatever the case may be. So this is our biggest opportunity. That's great. That's awesome. I'd love to be a part of that opportunity. I'd love to put in my efforts and my talent into growing that section of the business. Okay, now you're again embedding yourself into the company, right? Okay. Number 8, obviously the other side of that question. What are the biggest challenges? Okay, what are the biggest challenges that that the company is facing right now? What's the biggest challenge that the department is facing right now? And of course, that could be turned as a positive. That could be turned as a positive, right? They could say, well, we just landed this contract. It's for 10 years. It's for 5 years. We're low in manpower. We need to bring in more talents. We need to bring in more resources. That's our largest, downfall right now, is the fact that we landed these couple couple of contracts and we need manpower to service the accounts. Perfect, David. I love the concept of growth, and I'd love to be a part of that team, so forth and so on, right? You're embedding yourself in the organization continuously throughout the entire conversation. Okay. Number nine, this one, this could be a part of one of my questions later on, but obviously you're gonna want to know to their perspective, okay, to their perspective. Simply ask, what is it that you like best about working for this company? What's so good about this company? Okay, that opens the door of them bragging about the company. Like I said, there's a better way to ask this question, but I've found myself in the past asking that question. What's great? Tell me a little bit about this company. I mean, why do people work here? And people coming in and with a smile on their face, and what makes them happy? What makes them tick? Okay. Again, you're trying to see if you fit into their environment, right? Number 10, what is a typical career path for someone in this role? This is important for you, okay? If you have a desire to move up into the chain of command or the ladder of employees inside an organization, you're going to want to know if there is an opportunity to do that. If they say, no, this is the accounting department, you go from, AP department to AR department into, supervisor and into managerial, and that's it, then obviously if you take the job, you have to be okay with that, right? Or they could say, well, you have all of these options, and then eventually when there is an opening for like a CFO or a COO, obviously you can qualify for that. And if you have the experience and talent, you can certainly pursue that job opportunity. It just means that there are so many different options, that the company continues to grow and that you will always have an option to grow with the company is what they're saying, right? But it will help you learn whether the company promotes from within also, or if they hire everybody from the outside. And there's good and bad about that. Obviously, if you're coming from the outside, you would want them to hire you from the outside, right? But if you're already within the organization, what's the chances that your talents would be passed by somebody else that is coming from the outside, or if everyone is required to grow on a ladder-based system? Okay, so those are the top 10 questions that I typically find others doing really well with as far as questions, right? But I've taken this list. This is a list that I've had for many years, about 24 years now. Okay, and I've taken them and actually molded them to an extent. And I was mentored one time when I was in my younger years, when I was first starting my career, and during that mentorship, I was exposed to very powerful job interview questioning and job interview process, and I'm hoping that this video would help for you at this point. If you haven't grabbed a pen and paper yet, grab them now, because you certainly are gonna want to you're certainly gonna want to write these questions down. These are very powerful questions. If you're in the top 5 selections of candidates that they already have, these questions will put you in the top 2, maybe top 3, and sometimes at the very top, that you are the choice that they have to make in order to hire somebody. Okay, so I call these my bonus tips, okay, my bonus questions to ask just before the job interview ends. Okay, so typically I would look, the job, the interview's ending, the David is asking, do you have any questions? Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions for me at this time before we end the interview? And certainly I will say, yes, David, I do have a few questions if you don't mind. I had them written down here. I just want to kind of get a little bit more insight from you. Number 1, David, how long have you been with the company, David? I mean, you seem to be very knowledgeable about the company. How long have you been here? And then they're going to talk about that. Let them talk. Let them talk. Doesn't really matter what they're going to say. It doesn't matter to you. Let them talk. Eventually, they're going to finish. Okay, that basically that puts a little message in David's head. Oh, that's a really good question. No other interview candidate asked me that before. That's a good question. I'm going to remember Armand. That's number 1. Right? Number 2, I roll into, you know what, David? At the time, about 5 years ago, when you were, pursuing this company, and they gave you the opportunity, let me ask you this: what made you accept? What made you accept the opportunity with the company? What made you decide to join the team with this company? What was that little thing or that big thing that really just put you over the edge? Because I'm sure with your talent and your knowledge, I'm sure you had other job offers that was out there somewhere. What made you choose this team or this company? that tells that you're fluffing them up, right? You're fluffing them up. You're giving them a lot of compliments. Oh, you had a bunch of different job offers, right? Even if they didn't, right? Whatever the case may be. But now you're asking them, why this company, right? Again, what's the chances of someone asking the first question and then let alone this second question as an interviewee, right? Very slim. So that's another ticker. Let them answer the question. They're going to brag about their company. They're going to talk about their company. They love their company, blah, 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 this and that, all the functions, all the bonuses, right? Whatever they're going to say, just let them say it. Okay. Number 3. Now you're going to test David's memory of your conversation. You're going to ask him, David, based on what we talked about today, what do you think is what do you think most qualifies me for the position or for the role that you're looking for? Now you're testing his memory. You're asking him, what does he remember about you from what you guys talked about today? And I'm sure you said a lot of things about your qualifications, and I'm sure that, I said a lot of things about the opportunity for me. So for this on, now I'm asking David to remember it and give it back to me, right? While he's answering those questions, oh, you know what? One of the most effective qualifications that I heard you mention earlier was your devotion to your career, was your ability to think outside the box. But whatever the case may be, what he's doing now is he's saying it himself, and he's hearing himself say it. Guess what happens? It's going in his head. It's being ingrained in his head. All the good things about me, right? I don't have to tell him about me anymore. He's telling me about me, why I would be the best qualified candidate for this job. Now, how many people did David interview that asked question number 1, question number 2, and question number 3? Question number 1, maybe 1 or 2 people or a few. 2 questions, not much. The third question, probably not a lot. You could count them with one hand, right? So now you're like on the pedestal again, right? And of course, nonchalantly, right? Nonchalantly, out of the blue, I would just say, hey, David, I got a quick question for you, David. Okay. Hypothetically, right? If I was to accept an offer from your organization or from you for this role, what resources are you willing to provide to ensure that my transition to your company is smooth in the first 2 weeks, in the first 30 days, in the next 60 days, or in the next 90 days? What are you willing to provide as resources to make sure that I transition well? What he's going to basically respond with is all of the department personnel that he has, all the resources that he has. Well, we're going to make sure that you get through your orientation properly. We're going to make sure that your department is helping you along the ways, that you're not just set aside, that you're actually a part of the group. We're going to help you do blah blah blah, all of these things, right? Now he's reinforcing the power of his team, the power of his group, the power of his company is what he's reinforcing, right? Again, how many people have asked those 4 questions now, right? You're probably the only one. You're probably the only one. And then just to make sure, you do the coup d'etat, the magical blow, the last blow. You're gonna ask him one final question. David, thank you for your time. All the information you provided were very enlightening. I appreciate it. It gave me a whole new understanding as far as who you are, what this company is all about, and I can't even thank you enough. I thought I did a lot of research before I got here, but man, the amount of information that you have divulged about your company, outstanding. Thank you so much for your time. My last question, and I'm gonna get out of your way here, is when can I expect to receive an offer from you? Don't speak, right? Don't speak. First one speaks, loses. So you ask the question, you stop talking. He's gonna have to respond. And of course, that is the final blow, the coup d'etat, right? Final blow. That will put you right at the very top of the list, because right at that point, you have confirmed that you are the right person. And at the very end, you have determined that you are that right person. And at the very last question, that basically puts David in a very comfortable position of, you know what, this is the right person for us. You can expect a response from us within the next 48 hours, or in the next 72 hours, or in the next 5 days, or whatever the case may be. They're gonna, their response is always gonna be, well, we need to talk about it with the different managers from the different departments, blah, 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 all of these, right? But I guarantee you, when they actually get together and they say, okay, let's review all of the qualified candidates. Guess what David is going to remember when your resume pops up? This person, I remember this person. I can tell you everything about this person. The other people that you're talking about, I have no idea. I don't even remember any of those people. But this person right here, I remember this person. This person stuck out. I just hope that whatever we offer this person is adequate for his or her talent. Okay? That is how, people, that when I've done this in the past, I've tested it, it has worked. Okay? It's a lot more pleasing when you go for a 5-job interview and get 3 different offers and you have to figure out which offer best suits your need versus go to 10 different interviews and wait and pray that a job offer would come, and it never comes because you weren't prepared for it, right? So hopefully this video was helpful to you. If you have any questions, please comment down, or if you need to rewatch this or write some of the tips that we have, make sure that you hit the little subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. And for any questions that you have, write in the comment. If you liked it, great. If you didn't like it, hopefully you find one that you do. Okay, but other than that, thank you for watching, and see you next time.